Like I just wish I never lived here.
Welcome to another episode of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
Hey, what's going on, my friends, my family? How you guys doing? Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Nick and CJ. And that clip that you guys just watched is an example of the pain of black pain that we feel all the time in this country. And this is the pain of the poor in this country that we mentioned this yesterday. You guys notice that progressives and progressive media heads, they don't talk about the poor. They're talking about the working class, who are the people who have student debt, which is not the majority of black people, right? So that is the pain of this failed state that many reformists, they don't want to see. They don't want to see that because that would blow up their entire philosophy of having a slow-moving reformist system that we are supposed to go along with. That's my initial thoughts. And it also ties into our main topic of the day because those same people and the families of those same people, because I'm not as poor as I used to be, not as poor as the worst, but I know people who struggle, who are hard workers, and I empathize with them. And that's where my rhetoric comes from. And the biggest criticism a lot of people have of RBN is that we're not civil enough. And we're going to talk about how civility politics is used against us, right? But go ahead, CJ.
Right. So I'm glad you said that last line because the reason I wanted to talk about this topic, and it's just been sitting on the shelf waiting for us to find a time to talk about it, is because of that. Is because of RBN and how we are viewed by some in the PMC, some in the professional managerial class, or any other sort of circles that is, prim and proper. They think they're going to shut RBN out by simply ignoring us, and that's just not the case. That's just not, those people who speak that way in working class language, that's never going to reach civil conversation, so we don't have to worry about them.
Yeah, they don't want
thinking that. Yeah, keep thinking.
They don't want their audience. They don't want their audience to grasp. Oh, what he said. Oh, I can't believe they would fight this guy on. For example, I'll give you guys a perfect example of why they wouldn't do that. You guys saw the Dark Brandon speech, and then everyone's. You had two sides. You had the Democrats who pretend it was the best speech of all time. Then you had the Republicans who would pretend, oh my God, so divisive. So angry. You had Republicans melting down over Biden's mean speech, the same way that liberals melted down at Trump's mean tweets. And you have both sides going along with it. Republicans like, oh my God, Biden was so mean. The liberal class was like, Biden is perfect. Biden is calling out the fascism. I've seen progressive. Kyle Kalinske was saying this. Biden is calling out the fascism. So if you invite me on the show, you have this conversation. Guess who's going to burst that bubble? I am. Because for one, I'm gonna talk. If I were talking to a Republican right winger, I'm gonna tell them, "Shut the fuck up, snowflake. I don't give a fuck how Biden speaks to you. Shut the fuck up." Second point, if I'm talking to a liberal, and you got Biden repeating bullshit about ultra MAGA, question for you guys: what the fuck is ultra MAGA? What is the difference between ultra MAGA and Biden? You see how this manufactured divide, and then whenever I see commentary on this, people just go along with it. If people interview me, I'm like, okay, where is this divide in the ruling class? Biden calling out ultra MAGA. All the parties support funding Ukraine. All the parties support funding the military more. Right. Biden is ultra MAGA. So if I went on one of these blue shows, Democrat shows, you guys think Biden is calling out fascism? He is ultra MAGA. He increases the police more, 100,000 police is on the that's going to hit the streets. DHS is being funded more. He's literally provoking World War III.
Israel, don't forget about Israel. He's funding Israel.
The Biden
at least he's funding fascism. Have you ever got liberals who at least admit he's at least funding fascism. You can't even get them to admit that.
Yeah, Biden, his administration is covering up the death of Israel assassinating Shireen Abdul-Akleh. You guys realize that?
Yeah.
Everything that they said Biden wasn't Trump. So anything they said Trump was, Biden is. Biden is escalating with Iran and saying that violence is not on the table because of this disagreement over the Iran deal. Everything people said Trump was going to do, Biden is doing. So we having a discussion about Biden's speech, and you got these people that say vote blue. I'm going to bring that up. And you guys realize you voted for Ultra MAGA, right? That whole conversation gets derailed. Imagine TYT conversation, Crystal Cow and friends, and then Nick is all like, hey, you guys realize you voted for Blue MAGA, right? That whole conversation changed.
Then they're not gonna start telling you, right? You're saying right-wing talking points. Because that's their way out. That's the way to exit the conversation, right? Because when they have points that they can't sort of address, that's what they do. So let's put up the graphic real quick, and then we'll do this. So this is what we're talking about: civility politics, and how it's used as a tool for the ruling class. I have an interesting article from NPR, and then of course Second Thought actually covered this also. So we'll watch a short video as part of this, and then we got a couple of other stories. Now, China's life expectancy has surpassed the United States.
You saw the intro video.
Yeah.
And you had the UN come in the United States that said that a lot of people who live in conditions that are suitable for a third world country, right? Now, and CJ, when we get to that story, you guys gonna notice how many mainstream media outlets are covering this. You would think China surpassing the United States would be the biggest story. China was deeply impoverished decades ago. You guys realize how giant of an accomplishment this is? Crickets. We'll get to that later.
Right. And because they don't want to have to explain, well, how did this happen? And they don't have capitalism. That's a conversation. That's a conversation they do not want to have. That's a previous that banner.
You guys got to understand, the threat of China that the West keep fear-mongering over is not military threat. And they are very vague about this when they covered this at CNN. It was like the China threat because they want to give people the illusion that there's a military threat. No, the threat of China is them overthrowing the United States as an economic power and showing the world that market socialism and communism is the way to go. The main ideology and modus operandi of capitalists was to prevent any successful alternative system from uprising.
Right.
That is the threat that China poses, not military. But go ahead, CJ. We can get. I'm trying to say it for the next story.
But propaganda leaves that vague.
Yeah, they do on purpose.
That's on purpose, so that the listener believes one thing when the speaker is intending something else. That's on purpose. That's a propaganda tactic. So let's do a quick chat check just to make sure, or just to check and see who's in the audience here. We're up to 168 people. Go ahead.
Shout out to my friend Zoya. I see here.
Oh, Zoya's in the house. Right on.
Zoya's love. Zoya's life.
Let me scroll.
Respectable and civil fascism is the good one, guys. Civil fascism. You know, all you gotta do is smile when you fund genocide. You know, all you gotta do is have nice tweets. Don't insult.
Well, the thing is, Nick. The thing is, and we can kind of start to roll into the conversation a little bit as we're putting these comments up. But the thing is, civility. Or anyone going, so if you let's use an example. So anyone going against you, enslaved Africans or slavery in the United States, you would be considered being uncivil. Uncivil is trying to change or go against anything that's already in place. So what if oppression's in place? You see how it's a problem? You see how it would be used as a tool to keep the oppressed, to keep the marginalized down? Because if you're fighting against a rule that puts you into oppression, you're being uncivil, trying to change the rule that's oppressing you. So
CJ, remember one good example of civility policies. I remember when they had that election panel, right? When you had I think it was Bree, Katie Hopper, Marianne Williamson.
Yeah,
they did that Seize the House panel, and then everyone was ignoring the fact that it was a cringe ass idea. But then again, we did a stream on it, And no one wanted to call
we
him
got
out.
in
It
that,
was
yeah.
cringe as hell. Sorry, it was cringe. And then us calling him out, I can tell, like, it's just, I can't believe you would call out Marianne Williamson like this.
Yeah.
Usually you guys would attack the Caesar House panel. I'm like, nigga, we didn't call them any personal names as far as I remember. We just said your ideas is dumb. That's it.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And
it was
civilian
really
politics
terrible.
will tell you can't do that. In a very important issue, things that will affect your life, politics. You can't allow to be emotional. You can't be allowed to be passionate about issues that will literally impact your life. You guys realize how that is self-serving of the establishment? Go ahead, CJ.
When I think of this, I always put it in the context of slavery. Do you understand that would mean a slave can't really be upset that he's enslaved by this concept? You can't show anger that people are holding your freedom in these chains, Nick.
Yeah.
That is just absolutely absurd. But let me bring up the article. Let's start with the article. Let me see if this is it right here. Yeah, this is the article. It's an NPR, so NPR, sometimes they do have good work, mildly good work. And there are some points in this I will disagree with, or we can go further, but this is a pretty good article. And again, it's NPR. It was written a couple of years ago, March 2019. Now, you can listen to this, but I would prefer to read it so I can stop it where I want. But the title is When Civility is Used as a Coddle Against People of Color. Have you read this article before or heard of this article?
I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this article at all. So it'd be interesting to see their point of view on this.
Okay, so let's get into it. For my reading, now I'm not a reader. I don't like to read long stuff. So for my reading, it's long-winded, but it does serve a purpose and does have a very good point. So let's get started. So the value of civility is one of the few things Americans can all agree on, right? That's the common assumption. And yet it's an assumption that depends on everyone thinking that they're a full member of the community. And that is key. I mean, they're starting this article off the right way. Civility in politics has to assume, if you were to implement that, is that everybody is on an equal level already. Exactly. So that has to be the assumption. And that's the assumption that I would say the vast majority of white America sort of forces themselves into. I don't think in the back of their mind, Nick, I always think they know what the fuck is going on. Just like that Jane Elliott video, that Jane Elliott video that says, if any of you white people want to would change positions with any black person in America right now, raise your hand. And nobody raised their hand. And she said, that tells me quite firmly that you know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and the point about making, I'll pass it right back to you. You have to believe that they know what's going on, because if they don't go on, if white people don't know what's going on to black people in this country, despite the fact that it's obvious, you have to admit that either they're lying about not knowing or they are a dumbass. Which one is it? Or do we got a country full of dumbasses? Which is possible. Right. I admit that. Or the people who just know what's happening, but they don't want to say it because it makes their white comfort it makes them feel uncomfortable. It's the same way that a lot of white people get uncomfortable when we talk about reparations, because when we talk about reparations, we talk about a debt that is old. Hey, yo, your position in life, generational wealth, your society as it knows it is built on slave labor. That breaks their brain. They don't argue against it. Oh, no, we can't do that. We can't do it.
You know what? It kind of now walk with me down this rabbit hole, but it kind of makes it to where they have to believe in racism. Otherwise, you understand how they're going to understand how terrible of a people they are for what they did. You have to believe that there's a difference. You have to believe that because if you don't believe that, guess what that says about you and your ancestry? You get what I'm saying? Because if you believe that that's been 100% a person and you've known that this whole time, what does that say about slavery? So it almost makes it to where they have to believe, or I don't know if it's the right word, has to believe, but it's like they're boxed in to believing. Otherwise, they have to say you like the reaction to CRT. You trying to make people feel bad about their that's going to be a normal human reaction if your ancestors were terrible people.
Dude, I swear to God, CJ is not exaggerating. Have you guys ever seen Ron DeSantis speak about critical race theory? The funniest shit ever. His argument is like, we can't have poor little Timmy hate the country by teaching the history. So Ron DeSantis and these people are the biggest advocates of civility politics. And if you're not, and the reason why they believe, like, and you kind of mentioned this earlier, if they don't believe in civility politics, that means that they have to endorse some sort of unrest, which they are not willing to do. That means if you are okay with uncivil politics, that's you acknowledging that there's a reason to be uncivil. And white America can't do that. They can't acknowledge that, damn, these black people, they got a reason to be pissed. Nope. That's when they pull the angry black man trope, right? But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, which I don't mind. You can call me that, and I call it righteous anger. But let's continue. But what about when they aren't? For many people of color in the United States, civility isn't so much social lubrication. I love that analogy. Social lubrication, as it is a vehicle for containing them, preventing social mobility, and preserving the status quo. The furious white pushback at integrating lunch counters in the 1960s wasn't about the grilled cheese sandwiches that sat in protesters weren't going to be served. It was about their presumption that they could sit at the counter at all as equals. And that is a powerful sort of analogy. Like, it wasn't about them not being able to eat a sandwich. It was the fact that you're upset that I'm presuming that I'm equal, that I can sit in a chair that you can sit in. That is powerful right there, to me at least. Let's continue though. The fury is why Alabama governor. Now this is not talking about the current Alabama governor, just to be clear. That fury is why Alabama Governor George Wallace could proclaim segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. I don't know. I remember that line. I've seen it so many times. I can do the accent and imitate him. But let's continue. Even after passage of the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act, some white people were still pushing back against demands for equality from Black and brown communities. James Foreman, a principal organizer with the Social Nonviolent Coordinated Committee, had famously promised the people who wanted to go slow on integration that if Blacks didn't have a seat at democracy's table, the entire table would be tossed. I'll pause it there for your reaction.
You see why they had to have to ban teaching basic history? And I'll pull up that comment. That comment is 100% true, right? Where critical race theory is literally a law. Like, I never had a class called critical race theory my entire fucking life. It's literally law school level. Either. But once again, these people who went to law school, you guys think they don't know that? Do you guys think the ruling class don't know that critical race theory is only taught on the highest levels? Absolutely. They 100% know that. They are here to trick the dumb, insecure, racist white people into thinking that their kid is learning the history that we just telling you right now. Don't teach Timmy about that segregation quote. America was always cool by y'all. You just had fucking rabbit rousers and complainers, right? And this is
it's a way.
Sorry, I'll pass right to you.
Go ahead.
I cannot emphasize this enough. There are a lot of reactionary channels that I saw them immediately bash critical race theory because they just saw something that the Democrats pretend that they supported, and they know they can get right-wing clicks by doing that. RBN, we refuse to do that because that is anti-intellectualism. It's a coordinated attack by our establishment to get people to stop thinking, to get people to stop looking at history, and it gives them a shield in which they can devalue education. So just like Ronald Reagan wanted, you can have a dumbed down proletariat. So that's why I brought that up earlier. Ron DeSantis and Republicans know that critical race theory is not taught in schools, but they are using that as an excuse to devalue education to keep dumb workers. And any analysis over critical race theory that does not include that, you are being class loyal to the ruling class, and you're so dumb you don't even know it. But go ahead, CJ.
And that's the thing, Nick. That applies to so many people that you're so dumb and you don't even know it, because propaganda that is so sophisticated in the United
Yeah,
States has
it's the
done
people that
that to
use
people.
woke and they think they're being anti-establishment. Like, nigga, every time you use woke, the establishment loves that shit. They're like, oh, that's another
Yes.
divider. That's another divide. That's another person that don't want
Yeah.
people to think.
It's so bizarre to
Go
me
ahead,
that
CJ.
the
Sorry.
use of that word now is so bizarre to me, because I remember the roots of it and how it was a
I do
completely
too.
different understanding in society of what woke meant.
Hey, if you watching
And
this,
it's just completely changed. It's ridiculous.
yeah, exactly, CJ. And if you're white and you watching this, and I've seen a few people say they're confused while we speak out against the wokeism culture war. Because just like CJ said, I grew up knowing what war, like that's always been a term in our community. So watching that term become bastardized by liberals and then conservatives turn into a culture war was beyond surreal. It was surreal to watch.
It's just
I watched it happen in real time, and then I watched white leftists go along with it. I'm like, this shit is crazy.
But let me. I know. Let's take a side. I'm sorry, everybody listening or watching me. What exactly? Because I don't really have a clear grasp on what they mean by woke. Then
I can.
So when they mean it in a bad way, like what are you meaning by that when you say, woke, whatever label you're using? Go ahead.
So they are not even like super bad faith actors. Like some of these white leftists, you can tell which one really trying to do it or not, but they just fall for the culture war sauce, right? They see Democrats abusing wokeism. So what wokeism is for Democrats is they pretend they're anti-racist, they pretend they love trans people, they pretend they are inclusive and progressive, but at the same time they support the police, they support bombing Syria, support genociding the Palestinians. So any rational mind will say the Democratic Party is not woke because they are bombing other countries.
Right.
That is the only accurate political analysis of the situation. But white leftists, because they're intellectually lazy, they're like, well, woke ideology means you support bombing people. Nigga, why are you allowing the white liberal capitalist class to steal our terms? It's literally I'm asking you guys that.
The response should be, that's not woke. That's what the response should be. That's not woke. Not, well, that's the definition of woke. That's why to me it's so bizarre when I see leftists or people left-leaning use that in that way. That is just bizarre to me. But anyway, we can get back to the article. Let me read a little more, because this is where it starts to get more into, I think, more of the meat of the discussion. Is when we get past this point here. But let me read this part. A few years later, as the Black Power movement gathered steam, activist H. Rap Brown, I love him, told Black Americans that they could ignore laws that were never meant to include them. I love that.
Yes.
We did not make, this is a quote, we did not make the laws in this country, he insisted. We are neither morally or legally confined to those laws. Those laws that kept them up keep us down. And I love that quote from H. Rap Brown. And I've posted a few clips of him speaking. He does have a non, I guess, I don't know if he calls it a non-colonial name. So his name, that is his old name. He has a new name. I just don't know it off the top of my head. I can look it up later. But let's continue. This is a part where it gets good. A God ordained right to civilize others. A God ordained right to civilize others. Now, let me ask you, Nick, what does that sound like? Who is that talking to or about? That is about slavery. If I read this without any context,
and indigenous
that's
people.
The first.
I will add indigenous people too.
Yeah, well, see, I put that under the banner. I put like they're akin to me, genocide and slavery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I hear you.
Yeah, it's like it's akin. So I don't mean to say that they're the same. So I am gonna. Thanks for the correction. I should be using two different terms.
Well, I wasn't trying to correct you. I was just adding because that language is used for blacks in it. And they had two people that was focused on like they're like, all right, we gotta suppress the indigenous people and the black people. So that's what that
Right.
wrote for. That. So it wasn't even correct. I'm just adding that part.
Yeah, and I think there is some writings about slavery was the attempt, and they wasn't going for that shit. So you know what I'm saying? Like maybe they would want to enslave them, to have them, instead of having to import people from another country, and then that didn't work. So they said, let's just kill these motherfuckers. So and that's what happened. But let me read this part here. Such laws and ordinance were designed to contain communities of color, says Gay Teresa Johnson, who studies the intersection of civility and race at the University of California, Los Angeles. They allow white citizens to, in effect, civilize people they consider less than. So this God ordained right to civilize people, that's what that's speaking about. But let's continue. And many assume that this civilizing mission came from a higher authority. It's always been a situation where people assume that civility is something that's sort of God ordained, Johnson says. That belief would indicate that some people are innately civil while others need to be civility taught or imposed upon them. Go ahead, Nick, if you want.
No, that's perfect. Keep going. That's a great line. I haven't read the article. Remember, I saw that, I was like, oh, that's perfect.
That hit you, huh? Let me read that again, that last part then. So the belief would indicate that people are innately civil while others need to have civility taught to them or imposed upon them. Now, you know what rings in my head? Remember that video? I'm going to play it. I forget his name, but the guy who sits with the black interviewer and he's answering questions on was slavery needed? Remember that clip I played? I'm going to find that clip and play it as a reference to this point. But let's continue. People of color don't get to orchestrate the terms of civility, she says. She explains. Instead, we're always responding to what civility is supposed to be. So the relationship between alleged civilizers, I may say that wrong, but civilizers, and the people they're gifting with civility, Johnson points out, is inherently undemocratic, unequal, and racist. Think of Native American children being, let's just say indigenous children being forcibly removed from their homes and placed in so-called Indian boarding camps, or Mexican children being punished for speaking Spanish in schools, or African Americans being forced to listen to sermons that preached that servants should obey their masters. So that's just a few examples they give in for that reference. So pushing back against the status quo will be, this is the part that is so important to me here. Pushing back against status quo will be seen as inherently uncivil by the people who want to maintain it. And there are always higher standards expected of those people pushing back. That hits you hard in the chest, Nick. But go ahead.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you. I'll pass it right to you. You guys want to know what I immediately thought when I heard that? There's two examples that shot to my mind immediately when CJ read this. BDS, how Israel treat Palestine. Oh my, you guys can't protest that way. You guys boycotting Israeli businesses. And then the second one is obvious. The whole Ron DeSantis banning protesting thing. Oh my, you guys are protesting at the homes of the Supreme Court? Why are you guys so mad? They only took your rights away. Why are you being uncivil? You guys can't disagree with each other on politics. You guys can't have a disagreement on whether someone should force you to have a kid or not. Come on, be civil. These are small disagreements. You can't be friends with your neighbor that you disagree with on politics. Yeah, I know you support genocides in multiple states, but chill. Anyway, go ahead.
Right. That's such a good illustration of what you just said there, because it's like being civil about this cup. Would you like something to drink? That's being civil about something as trivial as a drink. Being civil is saying thank you if somebody opens a door. That's civility. But forcing people into a civility box when the law affects their lives is a different story. You get what I'm saying? Like, and that's what politicians in the ruling class want us to do. They'll go, "Oh, we're taking away the right the right for an abortion," and then when you fucking get mad, what are you doing? Let's be civil here. Yes, I'm taking away your rights, but let's be civil. That is so that is so insane, Nick. And I always apply it to the United States slavery, Atlantic slave trade. Think of that. Think you're a slave, Nick. They're whipping you. They're taking your wife in the back to go rape her. You're getting upset. You're supposed to be civil in that situation. It is absurd. It is absurd.
We supposed to be civil when we saw that picture of Derek Chauvin kneeling on the neck of George Floyd.
Right.
And remember the right wing was like, "Oh my God, look at these protests. Why are you guys so angry? Y'all are executing our people. What the fuck do you guys?" The fact that cities are not still burning shows our character. The fact that the Black community is not spending our time getting revenge. Like, that's what white people are afraid of. They're afraid that we're going to organize for revenge. And we're not doing that. Go ahead.
When we come out in the streets and burn shit down, guess what they say? Law and order. Law and order. Why are you saying that and you didn't say anything about what what instigated that? Why are you not saying law and order about that first thing? You know what it took me just to get him arrested? Like, that's what I don't understand collectively as a people. Why aren't we seeing that? Like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Like, you're against violence, but you're not against the violence you're doing on, you're inflicting on people, and that's
why we talk about it, CJ. That's why we talk about civility politics, because there are people even in our community that buys it. Like the psyop of pushing civility politics is probably the smartest thing the establishment ever did. Because it worked. That's why we got to do the stream.
Yes, because we have to, and I should have made this a I am revolution, because this is really, and maybe I'll just change it, because this is really should be part of that series, and the series is designed to be where people can go, I don't know anything about nothing, but I'm ready to be part of this revolution. We want to have a catalog where people can go and just watch a bunch of shit and be like, okay, I know what the fuck's going on now. And this should be part of that, because during the revolution, civility politics is going to be screamed from the rooftops from the ruling class. They're going to be like, get back in place. It's all about civility. It's all about civility. Let's do this calmly. Let's do this calmly and rationally and slowly. What do you mean? I'm supposed to slowly get my rights? That's what Africans were asked of, Nick. That's what we were asked of.
And CJ, you want to know
slowly get our freedom.
CJ, you want to know what everyone forgets, especially establishment-friendly historians? Like, the establishment-friendly historians will always leave out the fact that during the civil rights movements, even within our own movement, and this is important to point out too, even within our own movement, you got people tugging the movement to the right. Like, during the civil rights protests, and you don't know a lot of these people because they didn't become famous because they're fucking bitches, but it's been widely reported. There was black leaders that was like, "Hey, MLK, chill, man. Like, come on, man, you gotta relax. Come on, you pissing a lot of white. You see your approval rating? 70% of white America don't like you. You gotta relax, man. We got a long-term strategy." And then during the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, you had the same thing where you had this Bolshevik uprising. You had a lot of people that was like, "Oh, come on, man, you guys are going too far." The French Revolution, the same thing. Come on, guys, you're going too far. It's and the reason I'm bringing that because not only just establishment, we gotta expect people in our own ranks, aka the Bernie Sanders, the Social Democrats, who are there to be like, "Oh, I'm on the side of your struggle." You guys got to slow down, though, man. Why you guys calling out Ukraine? Why you guys calling out Israel? Come on, man. We got to change. What are you doing? That's always going to be there. But go ahead, CJ. I just want to add that.
Like, nothing can change if you. This is why the strategy, Nick, of the progressive, nothing will ever be done. That strategy has never been proven in history to work. The strategy of cozying up, think of that, Nick. cozying up to imperialists. How do you, just thinking of the logic of you thinking that's gonna work? People that's fine with murdering 500,000 Iraqi kids, those people are gonna give you health care because you cozy up to them? It's absurd, Nick. It's so absurd. But let's continue with the article here. So Rutgers professor Brittany Cooper writes about white reaction to black anger in her book Eloquent Rage, a black feminist discovers her superpower. Since the Black Lives Matter movement blossomed, Cooper says the mere fact that blacks are protesting affects how white society sees those protests. Black anger, black rage, black distress over injustice is seen as one, unreasonable and outsized, and two, as a thing that must be neutralized and contained quickly. I'm going to say that again. That is such a important quote. Black anger, black rage, black distress over injustice is seen as one, unreasonable and outsized, and two, as a thing that must be neutralized and contained quickly. Now, I'm going to read it one more time, but Nick and audience, think about enslaved Africans. Yeah, go ahead. Think about enslaved Africans. Think about all the Black Power movements. Think about the Black Panthers. Think about all of our Black leaders that have been killed. Black anger, black rage, black distress over injustice is seen as one, unreasonable and outsized, and two, as a thing that must be neutralized. What was done to Fred Hampton? Wasn't he neutralized and quickly contained? Wasn't the Black Panthers neutralized and quickly contained? So let's continue with the article. Cooper says this often takes the form of whites preaching at black people about how they're bad and how they're ungrateful for being angry. Wow. Let me read that part again. Cooper says that this often takes the form of whites preaching at black people about how they're bad and how they're ungrateful for being angry. And that sounds like almost every protest I could think of. I mean, just think of some of the historical videos I played, Nick, when we're just the one yesterday when the white lady was saying, I think everything's equal though, but there's going to be all this violence, and they were talking about people protesting for freedom.
That sums up every single video. Oh, not everyone, but a lot of the videos we played at the beginning.
Yes,
this article does perfectly. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me continue or read on. Right here. Opening eyes and ears. And I think this will be the last section of this article before we play a short video. Opening eyes and ears. Former President Bill Clinton illustrated this during a Philadelphia campaign event for his wife, Hillary, in 2006. As he talked about the ways in which the criminal justice system has evolved in recent years, his resuscitation was challenged by Black Lives Matter activists. I listened to them. He told the Hillary Clinton supporters, and they don't want to listen to me. He turned to his challengers and shook his finger at them. You will never learn anything when you're talking. What? He was in effect telling them they were being uncivil. But sometimes being uncivil is what gets the job done. I'll move this up. Back in the late 1980s, many AIDS activists decided that the only way the country was going to become concerned about the growing human toll that HIV was claiming was to cause disruption. Stephen Petrol writes a column for the Washington Post on LGBT, it should be Q issues, called civilities. Back then, he says, most of the country had been shocked into caring about AIDS and trying to find a treatment for it. a group of AIDS activists called ACT UP, which was dedicated to aggressively pressing for more research and services, infuriated a lot of people whose lives was disrupted by their demonstration. But Petrov says something had to happen. People were dying. The FDA was doing nothing. The Reagan White House had said nothing about AIDS well into the president's second term. So yes, that urgency justified the type of action. And I'll pause there. And I do remember this because for a while the AIDS epidemic was going like not even being talked about. So imagine like the pandemic, Nick, being going on, and because it was perceived to only be happening in the gay or the LGBTQ community, no one's talking about it. And that's what. Go ahead.
Guess who helped that situation? Dr. Fauci. You know the guy who liberals love now? Dr. Fauci worked closely with Ronald Reagan to help him manage the AIDS pandemic in a PR fashion to make the government look like they had nothing to do with it. It's not their fault. That's literally what Dr. Fauci did. And now he's a hero to liberals. And before you continue, I just want to read just a few chats I thought was really good. Just a few. This is a great. I didn't think about this, but I love this comment. Look at the pushback that Colin Kaepernick got.
Yes.
The dude literally took a knee. That's it. The motherfuckers during the George Floyd protest, they're like, "Oh my God, why are all the buildings burning? Why can't you guys learn to protest?" During the Ferguson protest, they're like, "Look at Ferguson. Why can't you guys learn to protest?" Because I guess Ferguson predates Colin Kaepernick predates George Floyd. So let me use a more accurate example. So during the Ferguson protest, they was like, "Oh my, okay, we understand your struggle. Okay, we understand you guys are upset, but why can't you guys just protest the right way? Okay." Well, all you gotta do is protest non-peacefully. Like if you protest non-peacefully, we would totally get on board with the struggle, okay? And then Colin Kaepernick literally did the most peaceful protest you can possibly do during the game, only for a few seconds during the song. That's it. And white America still freaked out. The NFL canceled him. Remember the white people and right wingers who are against cancel culture? Not for Colin Kaepernick. They all for cancel culture then, aren't they, CJ? And
I almost think that it's so ridiculous, Nick. It's so ridiculous, the reaction to him taking a knee, because what if his reply was this? The reason I take a knee and put my fist up is because of my fallen uncle he was a veteran and he died. So I do that as to pay respect. Do you know we would have a completely different reaction? It's all why he's doing that. Why are you doing that? For what? For that? No, you can't do that. That's desecrating. But if his reaction was that, oh, okay, that's so honorable. Here, go ahead. Let's put him on the spotlight. They would have a freaking all kind of deals, all kind of like endorsement deals. So it's all in what he's saying. And so it proves the point, in my estimation, it proves the point that it's like the quote said in one of the earlier quotes where she said that any black protests in particular against anything like we're being done wrong is seen as unreasonable. It's seen as like we're unreasonable and it's outside, like we're exaggerating. It's seen as that.
You wanna know what this sounds like?
Go ahead.
Oh, we're not against the civil rights movement. Something about MLK just rubs me the wrong way. Brian, that is not what people did. I'm not gonna stay too long to come, but that is not what people did. If you oppose a social movement, what is the best way to do that while maintaining face? And it's been something they do all the time. They point at the leader and they're like, "Oh, look at the faults of this leader. Oh, I would love to support your social movement. You guys shouldn't have a thug on the leader." They do this all the time. Yeah. So I don't know Brian's belief, but please don't fall for that, guys. Please, for the love of God, don't fall for that. Last comment I want to get up, and I'll pass it right back to you, CJ, because this quote from Dr. Cornel West is a classic. Americans have become well-adjusted to injustice. Thank you, Red. I see a lot of your good comments this stream. Thank you. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, keep pulling those up. But Americans, say that again.
This is Americans have become well-adjusted to injustice. And this is the biggest flaw that allowed the ruling class to pillage and exploit the American people. The American people's ability just to accept bad as the new normal. Oh yeah, I know we're struggling. We live paycheck to paycheck. Hey, I guess that's life. You know that American dream we were sold? I guess it's not real. That's pretty unfortunate. It's a shame. If only there was something we can do about it. Sucks. I don't got healthcare. I'm gonna go bankrupt because I don't got healthcare. Oh man, this is how things are. Yeah, Joe Biden might put more police on the street while people starving. Man, sucks, man. Just how things are. That ability that Americans just have just to accept shit is our biggest downfall. That's why our being until you guys ramp it up, stop just accepting shit. But that's all I have, CJ. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have to stop letting them construct stop letting them draw the picture, set the parameters, give the narrative.
That's another great example.
We are.
Yeah. Sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, this is just another good example. Remember during Forced to Vote? That's a long time strategy, guys, where they're like, who's the figurehead? Deem not the figurehead, so it's not about the issue. And that's what they did with Forced to Vote.
Yeah.
It was literally a DSA handbook. And I remember Jank like, I was supporting, and then Jimmy was the spearhead, and then all of a sudden he turned against it. So please, for the love of God, don't fall for that, guys.
That makes you so unserious, in my opinion. So unserious to do that. But Martin Luther King actually speaks about this, about civility politics, and let's listen to what he says here.
I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. Certain conditions continue to exist in our society, which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots. In the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard. What is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the plight of the Negro poor has worsened over the last few years. It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. It has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice, equality, and humanity. And so on a real...
He says it right there.
Yeah.
A great amount of the American population is concerned with tranquility than justice. He says more, but so let's listen. I'm just going to rewind it a little bit so we can listen to that part again.
Equality and humanity.
Oops, sorry, I didn't go far enough.
Concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice, equality, and humanity. And so in a real sense, our nation's summers of riots are caused by our nation's winters of delay. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again. Social justice and progress are the absolute guarantors of riot prevention.
Who was being uncivil in that video, Nick, to you? I mean, clearly, if a non-biased person is watching that with no sound, you can clearly see who is the let a child pick out. Let a child just say who is being unruly and rude. That guy, the police. That's who they're gonna pick out. Go ahead, Nick. If you were gonna speak on that, go ahead.
If white people want to understand the frustration a lot of black people, especially young black people, have with quote unquote white America, we explained this many times. We shouldn't have to. We're not necessarily calling you guys out. We calling the culture out. The culture of America, which is dominated by white people. That's just a fucking fact. So you had Ron DeSantis and you had Republicans that was quoting, and they do this every year, and it drives me crazy. And you guys think black people don't see this shit? And you guys going like, oh my God, why these motherfuckers so mad? Why they always talking about white men? This shit drives us crazy. We have people like Ron DeSantis who ban protesting. And you got Republican leaders, they'll quote MLK like, oh my God, look how far the left is falling. Why can't they be like the admirable MLK? If you guys were alive during MLK times, you would 100% would hate him. Everything that the average white Democrat, the average white Republican stand for is against MLK. So that's what we mean when we say white America. Like the dominant culture, Nancy Pelosi would tweet a fucking MLK quote. I saw Lindsey Graham, like, oh my God,
yeah,
great.
Lord.
And I'm asking you guys, what is more disrespectful to a people To a people, I'm not even using black people, just any example. What's more disrespectful to a group of people than taking their hero, someone who led a movement that led to great positive change for their community, and then they just bastardize them, whitewash them, misrepresent what he is? That's the most disrespectful thing you can do to a community, and that is what white America does every single year on that man's birthday. And now, do you guys understand why we got the chip on our shoulder?
Yeah,
that's exactly.
They killed him.
Every
Yeah.
year I get pissed. Every MLK year. If you gotta look at my tweets. Look at, if you guys are curious, look at Socialist MMA, then look at MLK Day. I'm usually raging at the fucking oligarchs that pretend.
All y'all saying all this stuff and y'all not doing nothing to put that into effect, but you want to act like it's like too many white people think all they have to do is think it in their mind and this everything is okay. Like all I have to do, in my mind, I'm not racist, so racism is gone. Really? Like I don't. It's just bizarre.
They will say that while they are racist ass parents. I see like there'll be people on Twitter that talk about how horrible the racist like parents are or whatever, and there'll be like these stories you read them like that same person will also be like, oh man, come on, racism kind of done. Like you guys see how racist your family members is, and then after seeing how racist your family members are, they then try to gaslight us like there's no racism, even though they saw their aunt say the N-word on the barbecue. You guys see what they do?
It's ridiculous. But let me now share this. Is this the video? Let me see. I'm sharing it right. No, I'm not. Anyway, let me share this video here. It is of Second Thought, almost forgot their name. And the title of the video is, oops, where is it? Oh, why peaceful protests won't solve anything. So why peaceful protests won't solve anything. It's 16 minutes, but we're really going to watch maybe 3 or 4 minutes of it. It's just the first part we're going to watch. So let's listen. Second Thought.
Is a small protest. Of course, it's not the size that matters, though, it's what you do with it. And what was done with this protest is really quite interesting. What you're looking at here is at most about 100 people gathered in front of Brett Kavanaugh's house protesting. Back in May, Politico leaked the Supreme Court's decision on Roe v. Wade early, and understandably, people gathered outside conservative justices' homes to voice their anger. They did what protesters do and have always done. They chanted rhyming slogans, held witty signs, and drummed on plastic buckets. Again, this is what it looked like. But what matters isn't so much the protest itself, it's what happened afterwards. A lot of people weren't fans of what they saw. The guy who took this video, Douglas Blair, got invited on Fox News and called it
genuinely one of the scariest things I've ever witnessed.
And he wasn't the only one. As soon as this video went viral, the condemnation started pouring in. Republicans called Democrats hypocrites for not denouncing this heinous act of violence, with barely enough time to get the words out before the Dems proved them wrong. On Twitter, people did the same thing. Liberals and conservatives alike put their 2 cents in, begging protesters to be sensible and quote,
I'm going to pause it here just to kind of get a set of framework. This is what civility politic, the purpose of what it attempts to curb, the ultimate thing that a population or a citizenry can do, physically go to these motherfuckers' house and say, we're taking this shit over. Bye, bitch. And kick them out in it. Like that's what civility politics
exactly
attempts to stop it from getting to. Now it's not there yet. So they're stopping it from ever even trying to snowball. That's what that is about. It's about stopping you because they want you to be civil about the things that's affecting your life. So imagine stopping enslaved Africans. You need to be civil because they don't want enslaved Africans showing up at the door at their house at night times, torching the house for the enslavement. You get what I'm saying? So and so on and so on. So let's continue.
Be civil civically, as one conservative pundit put it. Many came out of the woodwork with the same take. Protesting outside a justice's home is unacceptable.
And of course, that was Bill Kristol. If you didn't see that tweet, that was Bill Kristol. Please don't protest at people's homes. Please don't intrude on people attending their houses of worship, organize politically, be civic civilly.
Dude, I remember this tweet too. That motherfucker. I'm glad this video shows examples because this is kind of shit I saw that was making my blood boil. That would kind of cause that rant I did earlier. But go ahead, CJ.
The woodwork with the same take. Protesting outside a justice's home is unacceptable, and the conversation became about how people protest, not why. Moments like these are the bread and butter of American politics. Every time a protest happens, conservatives stoke fears about the woke mob, and liberals tone police, asking protesters to rise above and not slip into the barbarity of...
You see how they work together?
Yep.
You see how they work together to maintain the system.
Yep.
It's yin and yang, everybody. It's a dance. They come out and say, "Oh, yeah."
They
Go
put the
ahead.
black guy on the right, and I noticed it as well because I remember this as it was happening. CNN included in Fox News during the George Floyd protest, they'll always bring on the black guy. Who's
Yes.
like, I understand what you got to fight for, but calm down, please, okay? Like the whites, they mean well, okay? They gave me the job. The whites gave me the job. They mean well. So they always gotta get a black person to say that. And then, I don't know how many examples he give, but I just remember that during the protest. And then the conservatives, white people watch that. He's like, "Oh, look, one of the good ones." See, why don't you guys listen to one of the good ones? But go ahead, CJ.
That's like 1700 and a group of slaves trying to organize escaping a plantation, and then the house nigga come in. You don't know. That's exactly what this situation. That's exactly what this situation is. To kind of settle down, guys. Let's not do this. Let's think about it. Come on. Let's listen.
Of bullies like Trump. The Dems and Republicans use protests as a way to try to call each other out, while simultaneously sending the same message to demonstrators. Stop protesting like that. We don't like it. US politics is rife with this kind of stuff. We saw it with the BLM protest 2 years ago, the Women's March before that, and at least as far back as the 60s when MLK was leading the movement for civil rights. Every time a protest creates even the most minor disturbance, which is the point of a protest, the wheels kick into gear. People get all up in arms and start talking about the end of democracy and the need for civility. So-called comedians like Bill Maher run segments titled "Bring Civility Back into Politics," and politicians like Cory Booker go on talk shows to preach for a return of civic grace. The call...
All working together. You saw Hollywood there and you saw Washington there. All working together to say, "Calm down, peasants. Everybody calm down, peasants." That's literally what they're all doing. And then, like you said, they came on CNN. Everybody calm down. This is all they're doing for the ruling class.
One quick comment I'm gonna add, because I remember because Kim Iverson is very popular. So obviously some people got upset when I criticized her. Do you guys know Kim Iverson did the same thing? When people always ask, "Nick, why are you so mean to Kim Iverson?" Like, do you guys know her positions? Like, I remember during the Black Lives Matter protest, she was like, "Oh my God, these violent mobs!" Like she like many other YouTube culture war stokers. There was the people that were like, "Oh my God, you guys, these violent mobs are out of control." That was her. So like, I see those things, I'll never forget it. And so
she's part of that. She's part of that same lane.
She's class loyal. I'm warning you guys.
Yeah,
she's class
part
loyal.
of that same lane. Yeah,
I know some people are gonna hate that because some people they love Kim Iverson. I do not get it. I did not get it. I would love someone to explain it to me, but I see people who analyze foreign policy better without the fucking reactionary takes. That's just me. I don't make some people mad, but I remember she's anti-black. I saw Gerald. She literally made an argument that, "Oh my God, why do black people complain so much? Look at Asians. Asians are doing well in this country." Anyway, I don't want to get on Kim Iverson rant. I just bring this up because she was one of the people that was doing this. FYI. Go ahead, CJ.
Just for reference.
The call for civility suddenly becomes the news item of the moment. But that's not all. After years of this kind of high-roading, the appeal to civility has basically become the Democrats' entire political platform. A platform that's best summarized by Michelle Obama's famous, "When they go low, we go high." The Democrats have become incredibly attached to the idea that following strict social and institutional conventions makes them morally superior to the rest of the rabble.
Have you ever heard of Donald Trump? That's the whole basis against Donald Trump. This tagline, or this is like a log line for for their whole basis is Trump is not part of, he doesn't have the etiquette. He speaks this way. Look at how he tweets. That's their whole thing, not policy, because the policy's the same. And people don't see it, Nick. Why are they talking about stuff that's not policy? Why?
Yep. And progressives were going along with it during the Trump era. I remember that. And we was like, guys, can we get focused? Why you guys focus? Like you had they report on Russiagate on his mean tweets. It's just as designed. And that's the real reason I hate Donald Trump, because he busted the illusion of civility politics.
Yes.
But go ahead, CJ.
That is a great point.
Whether that's the protesters doing it the wrong way, or the Republicans they chide for bending the rules and being rude. We saw this philosophy of procedural superiority during Joe Biden's campaign, when he consistently reminisced about the good old days of civil, principled political arguments. Joe longs for a time when, quote, the Democratic Party still had 7 or 8 old-fashioned Democratic segregationists. You'd get up and you'd argue like the devil with them. Then you'd go down and have lunch or dinner together. The political system worked. You all remember those great...
Let me put that quote back up there, man. I know we've seen this quote many times, but this is our president. This is our president.
The devil with them. Then you'd go down and have lunch or dinner together. The political system worked. You all remember those great times, right? When the political system worked so well and it was full of segregationists. The thing is...
Why wouldn't you say the political system didn't work if it elected segregationists? Shouldn't that be the take? I mean, that's just me, I guess.
Buddying up to segregationists aside, this sentiment that Joe is playing on seems reasonable to most people. At the end of the day, we all want to live in a world where we treat each other with civility. A world where every conflict gets resolved with violence or intimidation is awful, and wanting respectful debate to take precedent is normal. Better than normal, it's ideal. But that's not what this is. These calls for civility are not made in a vacuum, and they aren't made with the goal of real democratic resolution in mind.
So this is the part. So it's about maybe another 45 seconds, because this second part where he begins here, this is the part that's the most important to the point.
These are cynical demands to do politics through government. An institution politicians know will kill these demands for justice. A place where they will be watered down at best and outright discarded at worst. To understand what I mean, we first need to ask how this whole process works. First and foremost.
So the point, and I may not have to even show much more after that, but the point of civility politics, hey, what do some white liberals, people like Jen Perlman, hey, hold on, let's get crazy. Let's go through the process. Let's go through the electoral process. What does David Sirota say? Oh, when we talk about anything else, nothing. Let's just go institutionalists who openly admit the institution is terrible. It doesn't produce results. So why are you wanting to do this? You know it's not going to do anything for the most marginalized people. You get what I'm saying? Like how are you an institutionalist and you're a leftist? That don't make sense to me. You're an institutionalist and you're a leftist.
You're an institutionalist in a capitalist imperialist system, but you call yourself a socialist. Someone please explain that to me. I don't get it. Like you guys vote to expand NATO,
make up whatever
or supports politicians who do that, but you're a leftist. You like AOC, who voted for the Taiwan weapons deal, with stoking tensions against China, but somehow you're a leftist. Do you guys see how this stuff does not make sense to us? But then people think RBN is divisive because we're not willing to go along with people who say stupid stuff like this? But that's you have anything you want to add to this segment, CJ? And we can go to China.
No, I think we can end it there. I think we can end it here, unless you saw any other good comments about it. I think we can bring it to a close. But the bottom line is this. I think we've illustrated that civility politics is used as a tool to keep people in place. Because, I'm not going to say because, but understand that we have to push against that. We have to push against that because there's no way to help the indigenous population through institutions. There's no way to fix the police state through institutions. You see the George Floyd build? That's their version of fixing the police state through the institution. So the institution is the problem. So the institution can't possibly produce good results. And that's what's so bizarre to me when we're talking about people, leftists and progressive Democrats, Nick. It's like, I don't understand, why are you so hell-bent on using this strategy? So, okay, so we get all the Democrats in there. What do you think the Republicans are going to do? Like, how do you think this is going to work? Like,
PJ,
what,
I love that
it's
you brought
so
that up.
bizarre. It's so bizarre. Go ahead, Nick.
PJ, I love that you brought that up so much. So, Democrats, let's think about this for a second. Democrats passed a new crime bill that's going to put 100,000 cops in the street. Democrat voters, what do you think is going to be the mechanism that the establishment uses to enforce its abortion ban? Don't worry, I'll wait. So, are you guys saying on cops only the blue states? Oh, they're going to red states too. Oh, so Democrats are funding the authoritarian mechanism needed to enforce right-wing ideology.
But we have liberals saying that that's okay. But we have people like Sam Cedars saying, if he funds it, I don't care.
Don't care.
You see how we can't. I'm starting to believe, and it's not just me. There's another video I'm going to cover where they talk about reformists and revolutionaries. It's forming a coalition. That's not possible. There's targeted in this video that this stream on when I have this video. There's 3 types of coalitions. There's targeted. We can do targeted coalitions with them, where it's like, okay, Medicare for all, we can work with you on that. But fundamentally, you can't work with somebody. One person who's saying, I want to tear down the apparatus, and the other person who's saying, I want to rebuild the apparatus as is. Like, that's fundamentally opposing. Go ahead. And
the thing is, we tried, CJ, the first part. Remember forming the coalition with the reformist leftists? It was called Forced to Vote. We was like, I remember, I don't care if you vote for Biden.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't care if you like AOC, Bernie. If you down for this, we're down. They're like, no, Jimmy Dore. So even if they say they support Medicare for all, and we have these agreements, they would disagree with the strategy. They're like, oh, I'm with you with the strategy, but let's go to the Democrat Party. So at that point, the coalition is useless, right?
I didn't even think of it in the terms, but that is exactly what it was in the terms of revolutionaries and reformists coming together. But that is exactly what it was, and it was the reformists that walked away from the table.
Yep. And I had the conversation with Case Study all the time, where Case Study's like, man, you know how he on both the reformists and he cool with us, right?
Yeah.
And I'll talk about this with Case not too long ago on my call-in, where he's like, I want to bring the TYT. I know you guys don't like TYT, but let's bring the TYT left, let's bring the majority report left, and let's bring the left together so we can get something done. And I'm like, Case, I love you, brother. What do you think we've been trying to do? They want nothing to do with us. It's literally that simple. They want nothing
because
to
of civility. Because it's so funny we brought this topic up about civility, because it's tied to the second part that we're talking to, because of what civility and RBN go hand in hand. RBN, they look how they talk. Look how they calling out these people. Look how they're calling them grifters, like people who are considered left icons or semi-icons on the left in the media sphere, and we're not placating this bullshit. We're not down for these half measures. But what if half measures are all we can get? But you know what? All you're gonna be doing is doing half measures. If you keep accepting half measures, all you're gonna get is half measures, and half measures means you never have the problem solved ever.
Exactly.
We can move to the next segment.
I'll just read. I saw a super chat came through. If you guys, I'm gonna read super chats and I get to the next story. Thanks for the $5, Jane. Reformist versus revolution was a core divide in the left during the German Revolution, wasn't it? I'm not too familiar with the German Revolution. Maybe I should read up on that. But every time I looked into a revolutionary struggle, or whenever you do these deep dives, the civil rights movement, the best example. And I'm bad with names, so I can't really there's not a lot of names, but it was well documented that there were a lot of black moderates in the civil rights movement that was upset at like bus sit-ins When I remember when like the busting, they was like, "God, what are you doing? You gotta get each other killed. You can't do that. You guys going too far, too fast." That is well documented, and despite this being well documented history, you see leftists make the same mistake. We're just gonna vibe, bro. We don't have to learn from our mistakes. So, thank you for the $10, Ivan V. Please look into William Darity on reparations. I haven't heard of him, but sounds good. He did an interview on the subject.
Yeah, William Darity. He's a professor at Duke University. He's the one that's most well known as far as estimations. When we did the reparations,
I know that. Yeah, I know
he's the one. Yeah, he's the one who came up with the 11 trillion.
Yeah, I'm bad with names. I forget names real quick. Let's go to our next story. I can't wait to do this one. Let me start with this. As RBN has explained, and there's a reason why I cover foreign policy all the time, mostly because of interest, but the rivalry between U.S. and China is the most important geopolitical development since the fall of the Soviet Union, and everyone should be interested in this story, especially if you're a leftist. Now, it's been a concerted effort, especially since around maybe 2013, 2014. There are always some snipes here and there, but 2013, 2014, when they really started escalating anti-China rhetoric, because that's when the rise of China became extremely apparent. I remember this under the Barack Obama administration, and when Democrats were trying to be pretend like they are friendly, but they was ramping up their anti-China rhetoric. Anyone who paid attention to foreign policy, they went from the full-fledged war on terror propaganda, and you start slowly see anti-China propaganda. Then you saw Russiagate pop off in 2015, despite the fact that Barack Obama, during his debate with Mitt Romney, was like, "Why are you saying Russia's a threat? This is not the fucking Cold War." Yeah. You guys see how they switched on a dime.
I remember that.
I saw that debate live. I was super invested in that race as a young kid, as a younger adult, I should say. And people mocked Romney for wanted to escalate tension with Russia, but Romney was just predicting where the empire wanted to go. There wasn't this harsh anti-China rhetoric until the last decade. And the reason why is because of the story we're going to share with you right now. As I mentioned in our initial monologue, the West tries to pretend that China is a threat, and they are very vague on purpose. They will say the threat of China, why China is a threat to the West. Guys, you realize they do not mean militarily, right? Like it's lies by omission. It's propaganda. Yeah. They want you to think that the reason why China is a threat is because of the military. So they write these headlines: China, a giant threat. Chinese authoritarianism, the threat to the United States. But what they really mean, and this is what the capitalists know, but they want to mislead the readers, China serves no threat to us militarily. It's what the threat they serve to our system, right? So full spectrum dominance in the capitalist ideology, especially since the fall of the Soviet Union, has been preventing the rise of another system, of another alternative to capitalism. That's why when the DPRK broke away and won their war and they gained independence from the West, created North Korea, they sanctioned the country to death. They sanctioned Venezuela to death. And then like, oh my God, look at these countries that were not working. You guys are starving them. So now you had the rise of China, who has like a market socialist as it is right now, because that's the transition to a full-fledged communist ideology. And they wrote this, the Chinese Communist Party wrote why they implement Marxism and the way they're doing this way. So market socialism, they still have private capital, but not in extremely important societal modes of central planning. For example, if you're investment capitalist, that's allowed in China. Remember that story we did of the billionaire in China that was arrested? Mm-hmm. They allow private property and profits when it does not serve a critical function of society. So they nationalize energy, they give free healthcare, and they provide the basic of a stable society, but they allow profit. And that's the market socialist transition to the communist state that they want to become. And this is the biggest rebuke of neoliberal capitalism that we have seen since the rise of the USSR. And that is the threat of China. Now, I'll preface the story already way longer than I should have, but here's the headline. And I had to find this from Quartz. And I don't know, maybe I found this a few hours ago. Maybe you can find some more if you look now. But this is not necessarily a new story. This is why I was shocked. Like, how am I just not hearing about this? Look, September 1st. This is like a few days ago. Meanwhile, despite this being a few days ago, about a week ago, you are not seeing this headline anywhere. China's life expectancy is now higher than that of the United States. How did this happen in a country that is infinitely more rich than China in terms of resources and has less people? We mean less resources than you got to allocate. This is an embarrassing stain on this country, and this is why they have ramped up escalation with China. Remember, the progressives are all for this. AOC in the squad, they all voted for the Taiwan arms deal. So they're all for this. They are for the global class war against the working class. It's not a small disagreement. I can't emphasize that enough. Me and AOC and Bernie, we do not any longer have a small disagreement. If you're fighting Ukraine, if you're for escalating tensions and destroying the progress of China, that is not a small disagreement. Are we clear? Boutique leftists, Kyle Kulinski, Humanist Report, TYT, please, this is not a small disagreement. So now, I'll pass to you, CJ. I'm in presentation mode. Chen had a big tweet here that sums up this exactly. The difference between the United States and China. Why I'm unapologetically rooting for China. People are like, why are you rooting for China? Because they do things differently than us. I like the way they do. I don't agree with everything, but I like the fact that they bargain and negotiate and build countries instead of bombing it to death. I still don't know who did Jen do this, but he's base as fuck. I still don't know who this dude really is. But you see this dude on Twitter every once in a while. He always busting the balls of liberals and Western chauvinists. And this is what he's playing here. In his tweet, this is the graph of what we just explained. Look, here's the graph. I'm glad I had to say, look, there's a life expectancy. Look at this. This is historic, guys. I cannot emphasize this enough.
Goodness.
With all the problems that China have, I disagree with. I think like the censorship and banning recreational drugs. I think that's unnecessary to achieve what you want to achieve in terms of full-fledged content. I just don't. Maybe someone can disagree with me, make a point. I literally do not see that as necessary. But other than that, look at this. This was a massive in human history. And I'm trying to find the proper words to emphasize how important. In human history, we have never seen this. In only 50 years? 60 years. They're shot their life expectancy by 30 years. This is crazy. This is a sign of, criticism aside, of a well-functioning society. So, CJ, you have any take? This is gonna be a short segment. I got one more thing to share.
Because the reason I like how you're trying to get people to understand the magnitude of that is because you'll look at a small number or a glitch, but you don't understand what it takes to even shift a life expectancy. That's like a lot of deaths, like a lot of deaths at an earlier age. That it doesn't to shift the number just slightly. So this is a big thing to consider.
And I got to brush up on my Chinese history. I'll be upfront on that. But in the 40s and 50s, China was considered an impoverished third world quality country, especially after the Japanese imperialism, which is the cause of the Taiwan conflict. Do you guys know that progressives in the United States pretending it's up for dispute? China only lost Taiwan because of Japanese imperialism.
Right.
Other than that, Taiwan been one part of China for centuries, way longer than Hawaii was part of the United States. FY, just FY. So China life expectancy fell drastically because of Imperial Japan. I'm scanning the comments too. I won't put smart Chinese historical comments up there, but based on my knowledge, the quality of life dropped after Japanese imperialism being exploited by the West, UK, and Britain, and then they had the revolution. Now you got the Chinese Communist Party who took hold and took power of China, and now look at what happened. In the West, you're not seeing this conversation happen, but historians are going to, if there's still society, right? Historians are going to talk about what China did from 1960 to to now or for whenever it ends. They're not done. China's like, nigga, we just getting started, nigga. You guys understand this shit.
We gonna be all right.
Yeah,
We gonna
be all right. Nigga, y'all niggas starving. Nigga, our shit is good. Nigga, we don't got homeless. Nigga, we good. So, by the way, they just getting started. So we just only got the numbers now, right? Historians are going to be writing about this for a very long time. This is an unbelievable accomplishment. And I am willing to say that with all my criticism I have in terms of the censorship and I think unnecessarily authoritarian on China. And I want to share this because it's not 100% related to the story, but I wanted to tie those together. Because as I mentioned, China is just now getting started. Chinese youth and the Chinese population, they are extremely optimistic about the future of their government. Unlike the United States, where Congress has like a 15% approval rating, Joe Biden got like a 40%. Like, we hate our government. The UK people hate their government. Meanwhile, Chinese people are super enthusiastic because of this. You guys realize how short 50 years is. In China, there are people whose grandparents lived in destitute poverty who are now living a high quality of life. This is insane. Insane to accomplish that society. Meanwhile, the West is going backward. while China and the civilized societies are actually advancing, we are going backwards. Quality of life is dropping. The quality of life from our parents to us, our parents can get houses, they can have kids, they get very low quality of life. Our shit is dropped. And the response of capitalists is, deal with it. I know you guys are struggling, but be the best among you. I know, look at that. Look at this millennial over here. This millennial got a house. Just be the best. I know there are a lot of them people struggling. Just deal with it. This is capitalism, okay? This is capitalism.
Work harder.
Work harder. Now, do you guys don't think the capitalist class, who I cannot emphasize enough, and this is what we do in our coverage, the ruling class are not dummies. There are a lot of people who pretend they are. If you acknowledge that they're not, you realize what they're doing is really malicious. So the billionaire class has destroyed our environment, destroyed our society as it works and operates as it is right now in order to get those billions. For example, Chevron and oil companies was caught lying about the climate crisis. Internal documents showed that their scientists confirmed that it was real, but then their PR said it was the exact opposite. That's just one of many examples of the billionaires who stole and ruined our quality of life, and they know this is happening. Let me show you guys a story that is kind of related to what we're talking about here. The difference between China and the United States. While China builds, this is what the United States is doing. So the whole Ukraine, we covered the Ukraine energy crisis in Europe, how Biden is stuck in World War III, the climate crisis that the capitalist class completely abandoned because they know they're good. I explained this concept so many times. This article came out 3 days ago, this Sunday. The super rich are planning to save themselves from the apocalypse. So you have the super rich who built the society. I'm gonna read the subheadline. This is a very long article. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. But tech billionaires are buying up luxurious bunkers. So they get bunkers for luxury because they're rich. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And they're hiring military security services to survive a societal collapse that they helped create. But like everything they do, it had unintended consequences. Do you guys see the difference? Why I unapologetically anti-American, but I want to root on these people who are implementing market socialism and moving to our scientific socialist model? The billionaire class and the capitalists, despite what they said on TV, they know things are going to shit, CJ. Why do you think they increase the police? We covered it. Why do you think
that's the exact reason? They're preparing.
Bernie and the squad all for that, though. We've explained it so many times. The establishment is increasing the police because they see social unrest incoming. That's what it is.
What do you think of these three comments here? Does China accept illegals? It's lighthearted, like they want to move to China. And then
I don't know they accept illegals, but I know they they accept asylum seekers like every other civilized country does, but we don't. You know, something that is protected by international law, the right to seek asylum. China allows that, not the United States. As of July, oh Jesus fucking Christ! As of July this year, Congress approved rate was 17%.
Too bad. And then they have a serious question about China. Serious question: if China gave you the choice, move, but you have to relinquish your citizenship, but they pay for the move and the new apartment, do you do it?
The only reason I hesitate because I don't know Mandarin. If I knew how to speak their language, this is literally the easiest question that I ever had. And that's literally the only thing that will stop me because, like, bro, how do I live in? I heard if you know English first, learning Mandarin is extremely hard. I don't know if that's true. I just heard it, right? So me at the age of 30, moving to China to learn Mandarin and other languages they have, that would be an extremely hard ask. And
I took Mandarin.
That's the only reason. That's the only reason I'll probably say no. I was like, send me emails. Maybe teach me a class. If you guys can teach me it, I'll be down. But the language barrier is the only reason why.
It's hard. That's a hard thing. Yeah, because Mandarin is hard to learn. I took Mandarin in high school, and it was very hard. And I just switched it because I was like, everybody takes Spanish. Let me take something different. My high school offered unique languages at the time. Now it's probably mainstream, but they had Chinese, they had Japanese, we had French. And I was like, and Spanish, of course. And I'm like, I'm going to take Mandarin. It was Chinese, but then when I got there, they explained to me how it was Mandarin and a lot of, So it was hard, man. It was hard. And and I don't remember any of it. So I'm not sure. That would be a hard move. Maybe, moving somewhere that kind of speaks English too. Maybe they speak their native, but they know English.
I heard there are places in China that's very friendly to English speakers, like Hong Kong. But Hong Kong is extremely capitalist. Like that's the I don't know.
Yeah,
if you can find me English speaking community, I'm 100% down. I'm 100% down. Now I'm gonna get to the next story. It was something I didn't necessarily have planned, but we definitely have to talk about this.
Let's do it. You're not talking about the
AOC.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I literally saw some people in the comments asking about this. I saw it shortly after you hit me up, and that's why I didn't have a chance to tell you about the story. That's why we didn't have to prepare as a thumbnail. But now you guys gonna see. Let me make sure I get this segment ready. Oh, here it is. So, and this is my tweet. This is AOC being on the cover of GQ magazine. Let me ask you guys this question. If you was a real threat to the establishment,
that was the very first thing I thought about.
You want to take it, CJ? Do you want to take it?
No. I want you to take it, but I'm just saying that's the very first thing I thought about.
If you're really a threat to the establishment, are you getting Netflix deals? Are you getting magazine covers for GQ? Do you have the liberal army queening you? So I talk about foreign policy all the time. I explained earlier on the stream how voting for Ukraine aid, voting for a weapons deal to Taiwan, despite what the boutique left, the Crystal Balls, the Kyle Kalinskis, the TYT, despite what they want to tell you, that is not a small disagreement. Escalating World War III, and I cannot emphasize this enough, and I want every person who is a boutique leftist who hate Washington to take this in mind. Foreign policy is not a small disagreement. I know they want to make it. Oh, come on. They just got different foreign policy. No, it's a big deal. So, what do the establishment gives AOC for being a good little girl in the Ukraine war? What's the reward for that? This is AOC on GQ. Looking fab. And this is my tweet. This is how the establishment rewards AOC for voting for the proxy war. That is exactly what this is. Remember the theory discussions we have, CJ, when we ask how could they sell out this bad? Like we played that old clip of AOC talking about how she's gonna govern before the election, and you see how bad she sells out. And even the people who hate AOC, like, how is that even possible? This is how right here. There are more benefits to being a congressperson than just the $170K a year.
Right.
And people will assume, and I was one though. This is an L on my part. An L on my part was a few years ago. I thought if you don't take corporate money, oh shit, that means you're gonna represent the people. I say that's an L. I take that L. I used to really believe that. AOC doesn't take corporate money, man. There's no way she's gonna sell us out. Ro Khanna explained when asked why he take interviews with Bree and Savvy Sav, for example, he said, "Well, when you're a member of Congress, and I hate almost everything Ro kind of says, but this is one thing he said that was on the money. He says, when you are a member of Congress, you are in the top 1% of 1% of privilege. I know technically they don't make as much money, and this is what kind of explained, but he said the security you get, the power, the prestige, that's worth something. The lifetime retirement that you get, the lifelong pension if you get. I think you gotta be in Congress for what, 10 years?
I don't even know what the threshold is.
I got fact check.
No, it can't be 10 because she's about to reach it soon, and she's not 10 years. I don't.
Yeah, fact check me. I don't know the time limit, but there's like a certain length you got to be in Congress, and you get that lifetime pension. That's another mechanism that makes them more likely to sell out. But CJ, before I move on, I ran out. What's your initial take on this? I got a few more to add.
It wasn't surprising or shocking. I saw it. I was like, that's what AOC is like. But what I hope it is, I hope there's some people who were still on the fence who are now saying this shit is just this is going too much for me. Like this is going too much for me. Well, my question to those people who are still down with AOC: do you think she goes from the cover of GQ to going fighting against the establishment? That's my question. Do you think that's how this works? She goes from the makeup chair and then she goes to fighting against Nancy Pelosi? Like even like the left media, Nick, I'm curious to see what their reaction is about this. Like it's so when she does something. Well, when she does something that they don't like the NATO vote, they just don't do content on it. Go ahead.
You want to know how the people who have no shame and still stand AOC says in response to the GQ interview, they believe that AOC had just 4D chess play that she's doing. Oh, and all I do is go to the Met Gala. All I do is take magazine covers, and then I can trick the ruling class into supporting my ideas. That is literally, I'm not exaggerating. That is literally the ideology. AOC,
and what about that video when she was walking? She was walking and she was saying something about I can't remember, getting my nails done. Or
positive affirmation, something like that.
Yeah, it's like man, this is ridiculous.
Myself. This is me affirming myself. Okay, and this is what they really believe as their theory of change. And you guys see how unserious it is. That all I gotta do is take a few GQ model magazine photo shoots. Then the liberals will love you. Then they will support Medicare for all. It's surely not a class struggle. All I gotta do is get them to like you. That is what their ideology is. And I'm gonna ask you guys this question because it's something I noticed as well, which is very relevant to this conversation. Do you guys notice how it's an intentional push by the establishment to make politicians into celebrities? And I'm gonna ask you guys this rhetorical question: why do you guys think that is? Why do you guys think it's so important to the establishment to take public figures and turn them into a celebrity that you can relate to, that you like? It's obvious, right? So instead of criticizing AOC for a Ukraine vote, you say stuff like Voss, like, oh my God, she's so hot. I'm for real. I know you might be joking, but that's kind of shit.
He said that.
No, I'm dead serious. I just saw the tweet. Look, this is the magazine. This is Voss. God, she's so hot. Now, I know there's a part that, and maybe I'll give him too much benefit now. He has to be joking here, right? Like, this is the cringe that you can expect from AOC sycophants. This cringe right here. And this
they're gonna say she can't be on GQ, she can't be Malcolm X at night and on GQ in the daytime. Literally. She can't be a crime fighting Malcolm X at nighttime and then a mild-mannered GQ cover model during the day. That's what they think, man. This is so ridiculous, Nick. What's the threshold for being for a leftist? What's the threshold is so low. Like it's touching the ground, man.
In Voss, I'm fucking crying. Fucking Voss. Fucking Voss. He defends AOC to the death. To the death. He hates my guts because I criticize AOC. Now, that is what this is for. Now, Voss, with his massive audience, going to do constant streams to defend AOC because he sees her as a relatable celebrity-like figure.
Yeah,
That's the
he's
point.
playing that.
Now,
It's all working. Vosh is working for the ruling class. He's helping
Absolutely.
the ruling class. Like, and that's what we have. These people out here pretending to be socialists. This is just to help the ruling class. There's like you destroying the sense or the understanding of what a socialist is by now a socialist can be like for war. If it's a nuanced view, like it's so bizarre and it's so like it does. Just ask yourself this question. I've heard you say this. Who does this serve?
who does
It certainly doesn't serve the working class. It certainly does not serve the proletariat. Go ahead.
If I'm glad you brought that up. If you guys are ever lost on the issue where you don't know what side to take, just ask that question. Who did it serve? What does, like, if you weighing X versus Y, does the X serve the ruling class? Do Y serve the ruling class? Which one serves the workers? That's how I approach almost everything. Now, I wasn't even going to cover the story, CJ, believe it or not, until I saw some of the quotes that she said.
Yeah, you told me. I'm curious to see what they are. I haven't seen them yet. I just seen the cover. That's all I've seen. So
we're gonna get to the quote.
See.
You guys see, this is the pattern. This is not by accident. Fucking Hillary Clinton got Hulu series. Who the fuck want to watch Hillary Clinton? They are shoving this shit down our throats so they can get a few dum-dums to do that, right? No one was like, man, you know what I want? I can't wait to get a Hillary Clinton Hulu documentary. Now they got this. Do you ask for Barack Obama to narrate documentary, CJ? Was this something on that the working class was asking for? God, do you guys think this is an accident? Look, think about all the outstanding narrators that there could be. JB Font, our RBN brother, would be an amazing narrator. Amazing narrator with his voice and way he can change his voice to impression. He will be amazing. But why do they choose Barack Obama to narrate our great national parks? Do they do that because they got an actor shortage? No, motherfucker, they want you to worship politicians like celebrities. And so many, and I say this because RBN, our platform is still small, guys. The Voshes, the TYTs, the Sam Cedars, their platform is way bigger than ours. So, and they fall for the AOC shit. They fall for this. Like their biggest criticism of this wasn't AOC narrating it. You guys realize that?
And let me say this too about AOC. It was a point I wanted to make when you were. The fact that she's on that cover, the fact that they were willing to put her on the cover, the fact that mainstream media or corporate media has gone full on AOC. You know what it also tells me? It tells me they feel secure she's not going to backtrack. They feel secure. Like she's sold out and they feel secure. We know this. We know she ain't about to backtrack out of this. If they're going all in on her that way, they feel like that. That's what they feel. Remember the crying on the floor when Nancy Pelosi had to have a talk with her? You know what I mean? To make her abstain from voting for the appearance. They have molded her into the next Nancy Pelosi. I'm telling you. They have molded her into that. Go ahead.
And you're right, because I'm going to show you why. Show you guys why. Why the establishment loves AOC. So I mentioned before, I actually wasn't really planning on covering. That's why we didn't have the thumbnail. I saw this as we was prepping. This is a great tweet by Just a Thought. She always has great tweets because I guess she read the article. I had no intentions of reading this article. No intentions. Well, I have it bookmarked, I think. Nope. I was gonna go through the article and it's so long. I was like, bro, there's no way I'm reading this garbage. I skimmed a few quotes and it's literally just as virtue signally as it's just a waste of time. There's there's no revolutionary discipline that you get out of the few quotes I skimmed in the article. It's a very long article. But look at this tweet thread by Just a Thought. This is a great point. So many people in this country hate women. This is AOC's quote. So many people in this country hate women, and they hate women of color. People ask me questions about the future. And realistically, I can't even tell you if I'm going to be alive in September. Do you guys really believe that quote? Where a person with a fucking security detail? Hey, CJ, do you got security detail?
Nope.
I don't have
Unless
a comment. Hey,
I had my 4-year-old.
Hey, leave a comment in the chat if you have a security detail. So this is AOC pretending that she's one of us, that she goes through the same struggles that we go through. And I love the whole thread by her. I'm gonna read why I want to point this out. This is a great thread by just a thought. This quote from AOC this quote from AOC's feature in GQ embodies why I had zero respect for her. She is not wrong about how women are still viewed throughout the world, but instead of actually fighting to help women,
right,
or any citizen, she victimizes herself. It's about me. And if you read the article, there's a huge part I didn't read where she talked about the trauma that she went through on January 6th.
Oh my God.
So, and once again, I'm assuming that she read a large amount of this article, and this whole article, AOC painting herself as the victim, and not the people that you guys abandoned when you left your protest at the Capitol. You know, the homeless people that you guys abandoned, not the working class that you guys sent $60 billion of their money to Ukraine to support Nazis.
Not them, not them,
not them, not the people that are dying because they don't have healthcare because you used too much of a coward to force a vote on Medicare for all. It's about her, CJ. Now, this is another great point. She upholds the system she claims to fight against, and she uses women, specifically women of color, to hide behind. She is not an activist, an advocate, or a fighter. She is a celebrity who makes millions of dollars to play pretend hero of the people. It's disgusting. And that's why you guys saw in the initial quote, she's like, oh my God, as a woman of color, I'm so, and this is why she's unpopular. Unlike Bernie Sanders, who I got a lot of criticism of, you know that Bernie, the reason why he's still to this day the most popular senator is because Bernie doesn't do this stupid shit. He focuses on kitchen table issues. AOC is pretending that she always engages in these Democratic Party culture wars. She's not going to fight to end the Ukraine conflict and advocate for peace there. She's not going to call out Joe Biden for keeping kids in cages. She's not going to call out all these crimes in the United States, right? But she's going to fearmonger over January 6th. She want you to know that she's a Latina. You should be able to relate to her. Even though she's fucking sipping wine with Nancy Pelosi in the Democratic Party swamp. Do you guys see her role now? So that's all I have. Doesn't have to be
it's terrible because like we said earlier, the ruling class and their media arm, whatever media, print, magazine, their media arm, wouldn't be doing all this for AOC if they thought she was anything a threat to what they're going to be doing. And if you're not a threat to them, you're not help to the working class. Any politician that's not a threat to the ruling class, that's not a threat to the establishment, either party, if you're not on a Kashama Swat level threat, you're not helping the working class. You're not helping the poor. You're not helping the working class. And you know what? Another thing I found out, Nick, you have to start asking, who are you including in the working class? Because what I've noticed with PMC or the professional managerial class, when they talk about working class, they're talking about working class with degrees, like nurses. That's who they're talking about, not necessarily working class McDonald's working class. That's not necessarily who they're talking about. So just wanted to make that distinction. I know you had
just one more thing on the story. I forgot about the last one because it's related to the AOC story. My initial tweet, I said my legit first reaction when I saw the shoot. When you see my tweets, guys, that's really just my fucking first thoughts. My first thought, like, yo, this is 100% her being rewarded for the Ukraine war. Like, if AOC voted against the expansion of NATO, if she voted against weapons to Taiwan, if she voted against the Ukraine weapons deal, would she be on this cover? No. So there's this article that is high-key trash. This article is high-key trash, but it also makes a good point. How is that possible? I'm going to show you guys. This article is trash, but it also makes a good point. This is from the Atlantic. Written by this guy, Dominic Tyranny, professor of political science. Hold on to that thought. I'm going to get right back to that. Professor of political science. He writes this article that says the rise of the liberal hawks. Look at the subheadline here. This guy writes in the Atlantic. He is an elite academician. Look at his perspective. The liberal hawk, they picked the right side. So when he used the term liberal here, I want you guys to understand he is talking about the left. So this is his tweet. My new article from the Atlantic on why the left is learning to love the military. Excuse me, Dominic? Excuse me. Have you watched RBN? So why do I point this out? In reference to the AOC story. I think it should be obvious, right? You guys see how AOC is performing the role of being the left that loves the military? AOC is the left that vote for Ukraine arms deals. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene asked AOC, hey, what is the carbon footprint of the weapons deal you just voted for? And AOC, who loves fighting Marjorie Taylor Greene, who loves fighting Ted Cruz, she was somehow silent on that tweet, though.
Yeah, no. I noticed that.
That's so bad you allowed Marjorie fucking Taylor Greene to have a zinger on you like that. So the reason I'm bringing this up is AOC is there, Bernie Sanders is there to manufacture consent so the left can be pro-military. Let me repeat that. Bernie Sanders is pro-NATO. AOC is pro-NATO. Ilhan Omar is pro-NATO. They all vote for sending weapons to Taiwan because their role is to facilitate that as the left position.
Yeah.
Do you guys see how this is not a small disagreement? This is not a small disagreement.
Shifting the window and redefining. This is what I'm saying. This is so you're not helping us by calling yourself a socialist and popularizing it and not being a socialist. That doesn't help the concept or the movement or the popularity of socialism for a bunch of people not to understand what socialism is. That's not a good thing. So don't think AOC is helping us. Don't think that Pramila Jayapal is helping us and whoever else voted for I think you said all of them. Yeah, that's why we did the NATO squad. All of them voted for that.
Only
like
Rand
so,
Paul. Rand Paul, the only person voted against it,
which is ridiculous. So
Rand Paul's the only person who voted against it, and like you said, this is why it's not a small disagreement. They are not the best among us. They hurt our movement. You guys understand? AOC and Bernie Sanders did not convert people to be socialists. And there are a lot of social democrats who think that's the case. Bernie Sanders and AOC shifted the definition of what it means to be a socialist to the right. So you guys are not socialists. You think you are because of Bernie and AOC. That's their role. Right. That's why they're harmful. Now, the last comedic part I'm gonna get to the story because I want to talk about Dominic. In a case that we keep talking about all the time, CJ. Remember how I said I think the proletariat need to be educated. And then someone in the chat put back on me like, well, hell no, boutique, elite education. And I'm like, I agree with you. That's not what I mean. I mean that we should educate ourselves. We can't allow ourselves to be intellectually uncurious, right? Because that is what capitalism wants. And elite academia itself actually produces ignorance. If you're in elite academia, you more likely to be a Zionist. For example, so it's indoctrination. So why am I picking on Dominic here? Dominic is the professor of political science. What am I getting? But you see how the professor of political science does not know the difference between the left and a liberal? Do you guys see how deeply intellectually unserious? This is very basic shit. The difference between a social democrat, a liberal, and what it means to actually be a fucking communist and a socialist, that is as vast as the Atlantic Ocean, guys. Especially
what do you have, a text or something? Or you have a text or a tweet from Dominique when you keep saying Dominique? Who are you?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, you got to share. Yeah.
That's my bad. I literally did not have the screen. I'm an idiot. But this is what I'm talking about. I don't know how long.
Okay, yeah.
I had no idea how long I was doing that. But anyway, this is Dominic. Fuck, I can't believe I didn't screenshot this. But this is what I was talking about. You see how Dominic and I highlighted how he a professor of political.
Oh yeah.
And then this is his tweet, and I know I'm a nitpicker, but I am saying this because I want you guys to understand how deeply unserious elite academia is and our Overton window is. This guy, who is an expert in political science, has no idea the difference between the left and a liberal. Do you guys see that? Am I the only one being nitpicky here? That's on purpose.
No,
that's on
that's
purpose.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say he knows. He just wrote it that way to serve the ruling class, to serve the status quo. It's so many different ways these people. I don't know if they're knowingly or unknowingly doing it, but they're serving the ruling class, same as Voss, same as some of these other people. But before, because I'm gonna dip out and pick up my daughter in a few minutes. So we can wrap, or if you wanted to do
it's
the other story,
2 hours. It's good. I'll say the rest of my story.
It's been 2 hours. It's been 2 hours.
Yeah, it flew by. It flew by.
Yeah. So let's take the last 3 or 4 minutes to just kind of wrap up this story, and then let's talk about what's coming up next. Some of the
we got like 2 super chats we can read too.
Okay,
so we can take time to do that, and we can discuss what's coming up. Thank you for the $20. Ruthless criticism. Are you doing another call-in later? Would love to discuss a question raised recently via W.E.B. Du Bois regarding framing of Black proletarianism and its relation to the general proletarian movement. If you guys haven't already, if you guys haven't got the call-in app, you guys are missing out because the entire anti-imperialist left is there.
Yeah,
like Aaron Mate is
the whole app is like a left app. The whole app is mainly leftist. Yeah,
like, you guys know how Rumble is mostly right wing. Call-in is mostly left, and you're allowed to. You get the opportunity to talk to us. I see people talk to Bree all the time. People talk to Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald, Aaron Mate. It's a great app that a lot of you guys are actually sleeping on. You can actually talk to a lot of these people that you watch on YouTube, and they provide a good show, a good audio podcast. And my show, Revolutionary Discourse, I get to the community together. It's not even like a call-in show. I invite anyone up to speak, and we just talk, and we have a good time. And I'm assuming you were listening because we always get. This is why our audience is extremely smart. Because I will do a monologue on my call-in, and then some smart motherfucker from our audience will call in like, I'm gonna ask for more content. You know, in 1930, I'm like, that happens all the time, CJ. Some person will call in, I'll call in, and they will drop some knowledge. I'm like, our community is base as fuck. So I love calling, and I cannot emphasize enough that you guys should get it. And I know obviously some people in the call. Yeah, download the app. That is the new, not new, but it's definitely a positive left media space that I enjoy. I was on Bree's show, her call in. It was just about 2 weeks ago from now. It was great. Like Brianna Joy Gray has the biggest show on calling, by far. Yeah. And her and Aaron Mate, I think they are the 2 biggest shows. So if you guys don't call in, highly recommend downloading it and subscribe to Revolutionary Discourse. I talked to anyone here. That's a good chance for you to have a conversation with us. And I've been people on my calling, you guys know, I've been fucking begging a right winger to call. I've been begging. Like, I will have the most provocative titles. I'm like, why the Ukraine war is bullshit? Why Russia? Like, I'll literally try and get Ukraine people in there. I'm like, this is why Russia's about to win. This is why the West is like, I never get these Ukraine people in. Never, ever. I got probably one, and he got roasted to oblivion. Some dude was like, why are you guys not calling out Putin? That happened like maybe a few weeks ago. That shit was hilarious. And we never get people to do it. Like on Twitter, so I know I'm ranting. Last thing I'll say, you got on Twitter, there's so many Ukraine flag accounts. There's so many liberals that hate my guts who think I'm a Putin sympathizer because of my Ukraine tweets. But they never show it to my call-in. You guys notice that? Like, these people are like, oh my God, Nick is repeating Putin propaganda. But I'm like, hey, if you guys want to debate me on this, you guys are free, and they never do it. Yeah, I was like, hey, if you guys want to argue, I posted, I'm back to you, CJ. I posted like, hey, if you guys believe in voting blue, if you guys think that voting for Joe Biden is a good idea, hey, here's my call-in. If you guys want to debate with me on this. They never do.
I was just about to say that's because they don't think that. That's because they don't think that. That's why they don't, because they don't think that. Yeah, or they're fake accounts. most of the liberals understand. Liberals understand that they're terrible. They understand that they're with a terrible team, but it's a team. It's like, it's my team. I know it's terrible, but it's my team, and that's just how it is. But this next one, plead with you to watch the vid, The German Revolution of 1918, How It All Began. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, that was in
Your
reference to
super
this
chat.
the older super chat she sent, and I'm gonna definitely check that out because I think that gives more information. Because Jane, they left a chat talking about how reformists and revolutionists was a divide, and so I definitely checked it out. That's the source, because I also said I wasn't too familiar. So thank you for that, Jane. So with that said, I think we got the super chats. Anything else you want to ask, CJ?
No, but tomorrow I'm not here. You have something? Didn't you have something?
No, just on RBN, like we cut through these clips from the stream, but other than that, just Sabby and JB tomorrow, and then I'm
Sabby and JB tomorrow.
Yeah,
do you have your call in when? When do you have your call in normally?
I usually have my call in around noon, but I'm actually thinking about changing it to 8 p.m. I'm still, because I used to have an 8 p.m. YouTube slot, and I'm thinking of changing that. I'm still floating the idea. So
you'll get a lot. You may get a lot more people. People will be off. More people will be off work.
Yeah, that's why.
Towards I know on the West Coast, if you have it later on, more people.
Yeah, that's why. Because that's when Bree does her shit late, and it'd be popping. It'd be popping and Bree calling. Because Bree talk about controversial shit, and then she'll do a call and like, I wish y'all motherfuckers come to me. Because I was on a call. Well, I think we were talking about the when I was on a call and I was a speaker, they were talking about the meltdown that people had on her.
So, I heard that. Was
anyway, make sure you guys subscribe to Revolutionary Discord. That's why I have on calling. And actually, I had it written down because I had two topics for my calling, but I didn't get to one. I said I was going to do the other one tomorrow. But anyway, I'll be on calling tomorrow, maybe around noon. I'm definitely going to change the time slot. I might do tomorrow night, actually. Why not? That might be my first run doing Thursday evening. So make sure you guys check that out. So,
okay. And just on our way out, just the normal announcements. Make sure you like this stream. We are currently at 370 likes. Could we push that to 400? Is only 30 more. So please like this stream. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. So yeah, please like this stream. And then also, if you are, we just hit 21,500. We're at 21,528 was the last time I checked during the stream, about an hour ago. So join if you're watching. Join, subscribe to us. Let's keep pushing. We're trying to get to 30,000. If you want to get notified of streams like this and just unplanned streams, join our Substack. We send out notifications just for like this stream, the one we did yesterday. We sent out a notification, typically 30 minutes to an hour or more before the stream starts. If you want to be a part of the activist summit, if you're an activist or you know anyone who's an activist or an organization that does activist work, our summit is October 22nd through 23rd. That's a Saturday and Sunday. But email us if you want to be part of the activist summit. Just put the word activist in the subject line. That's our email address. If you are in LA, you want to be part of the LA community outreach I'll be running. Here's the email address again. And in the subject line, put LARBN. If you want to be part of that local. And then last but not least, Rome needs a producer. I know we have some emails. I'm trying to get a bunch of them and then have him decide. So if you've already emailed about this, I've got your email. But if you're interested in being a producer for Rome, email us in the subject line, put Rome help. And that is all the announcements for the Nick and CJ show. Anything else, Nick, before we head out?
I'll see you guys are calling tomorrow. That's all I have.
All right. I don't think we're gonna do a closeout video. Actually, yeah, let's do a closeout video, and then the stream will end. So here is, let's see what we got today. I think we'll do something from the General Strike Summit. Let's do that, and here we go. After this video, the stream will end. Thank you for joining us today for the Nick and CJ show.
Now, this is they're doing a free grocery giveaway. And what they would do, they would go to, grocery stores sometimes just like throw away stuff. most of the time just throw away all this stuff that's not really expired yet just because they have new shipments. And they would just go around coercing grocery stores. Doesn't matter what their the grocery store's position. They would just get them to give them groceries if they could. Got solicited donations from any place that was trying to get rid of stuff that they thought that could be used, because it's not waste. It's just excess to capitalists.
Well, all these groceries, way over 6,000 bags of groceries, being given away free. Tomorrow night, the Black Panther Party has organized the whole conference, and tomorrow night at the Open Auditorium, that's Wednesday, tomorrow night at 6 p.m., we expect way over 6,000 people to come down and get their free bags of groceries, and also to register to vote, to unify the vote around the very concrete program, so that in the future, the Black community and other poor oppressed people in any kind of vote will be unified around concrete survival programs like this, so that people won't be asked by the politicians to endorse them, but the politicians will have to endorse people's community survival program, such as free food, because people got to eat every day. This is a new approach for the Black Panther Party, isn't it? And it's not per se a new approach. It's some new kind of work. It's all related to our original vision of the Black Panther Party over 6 years ago. And when the Black Panther Party organizing this kind of operation really shows that we're implementing the original vision of the Black Panther Party.
Z, could you pause the video right here, please, just for 1 second? Because it's just something that's on my mind. I want to say it right here. This is the reason for the 1994 crime bill, to get these men, these Black men, out of the community